Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to week 4 in the NFL. It's been an exciting 3 weeks so far, and hopefully, all of you have set some profitable lineups and you're all doing well. And hopefully, these videos have helped you with your thought process and lineup construction and just how you are viewing and looking at players and identifying players in good matchups, etc. Yada yada. But let's jump right into week 4 and as usual, we'll start with our quarterback, and I'm going to pay up all the way up at the top. We're going to go with Cam Newton for $7,800. And while I think that there are some excellent value plays at the quarterback position this week, like Hoyer and Kirk and Dak, I don't think we need to pay down for them. Carolina's pushing a 27-point implied team total and are 3-point road favorites. So while they're not home favorites, I do think that it's not necessarily the biggest deal here with Cam Newton. He has been pretty efficient in terms of points per dropback, sitting at 0.57, which is good for third best in the league. He leads his team in rushes inside the 10 and the 5-yard line and will be facing a defense that is giving up an average of 25 points to the quarterback position. Atlanta also ranks 30th worst in 4for4's.com's adjusted fantasy points allowed metric. And as I hinted to earlier, I don't think that you need to pay down. You can. I do like Dak. I do like Kirk. I just don't think that you need to. Mostly because we're going to go back to the well on Cole Beasley. He's $3,900. And once again, Pat Thorman also agrees on the Cole Beasley hype here. So I'm actually just going to read his write-up from his cash game analysis that he put out. Beasley has developed a rapport with Dak that can't be denied. He's averaging 9 targets a game and leads the team in total targets through the first 3 weeks. His low average depth of target allows for him to catch a very high percentage of the passes thrown his way as well. This week, Dak gets a major tempo boost. They play Chip Kelly's quick as lightning 49ers. Chip is averaging a blazing fast 24 seconds of play, which will allow for Dallas to get more plays in than normal, which will probably increase will probably increase Beasley's targets by a few. The great thing about Beasley is that he doesn't have to do too much to meet value. The Cowboys don't have a back that is doing a ton of work out of the backfield, so Beasley is the de facto check down. He allows for cap savings and will be in this write-up every week until his price rises and stops producing. And then Pat went on to highlight some of his key advantages: low ADOT, projected pace, check down option, target market share, and matchup implied total. And I couldn't agree with Pat more on Cole. And just like he stated in his write-up, I'm going to keep putting him in my lineups until that price comes up. There's no reason not to, because he allows us to work in guys like David Johnson. He allows us to work in guys like Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, you name it. Just getting that cheap wide receiver is really nice. And so we are going to pay it for David Johnson. And I think DJ is a perfect example of a game script proof player with a high floor, but he also has that very high ceiling. He's currently averaging just over 22 DraftKings points and will be facing off versus Rams that have allowed 19 PPR points to opposing teams' backs. Arizona also has an excellent team total sitting at 25 points and they're a 7-point favorite as well. So if we look back at some data over the years, I think since 2010, when a team is implied to score 23.5 points or more, the running back finds the end zone almost 60% of the time. DJ has 8 attempts inside the 10-yard line and has converted 2 of those through his first 3 games into TDs. I think this really sets up for David Johnson to find the end zone, somebody that I'm not looking to fade this week for sure. Let's see, we got another running back we can fill out, and we'll do that. And we'll go grab Carlos Hyde, the other guy on the side of the ball versus Dallas Cowboys and Cole Beasley. So Hyde comes in as one of the best dollar per points play for me. I think maybe even overall, but definitely at the running back position. He's only $4,200. He's currently leading the NFL with 16 attempts inside the 20 and is just behind David Johnson with 6 attempts inside the 10. The implied team total sitting at 21.5 points is certainly concerning, but that's also 100% baked into his price tag. He also gets a plus matchup versus Dallas, who is 23rd in terms of 4for4s.com AFPA metric, and have allowed close to 23 PPR points to opposing teams' backs in 2016. Cole and Hyde, I think, are really the guys that you can pay down at, and they allow you to spend up on guys like David Johnson, and they also allow you to spend up on Antonio Brown. And I kind of hinted that we were going to have him earlier, but here he is, second wide receiver in the lineup. And Antonio Brown, much like David Johnson, there's not much that needs to really be said, but also like David Johnson, Antonio Brown has the highest floor and the highest ceiling of any player every week. In 2015, he had 7 games of 30 or more DraftKings points. 5 of those were 39 or more points. I honestly, I'm just going to move on to the next position here. But with all of the value plays, like Cole, like Hyde, like Jamison Crowder, like Tyrell Pryor, like a couple of the minimum tight ends, I think that fading Antonio Brown is something that you should really do at your own risk. There's also good price defense too, and so I guess we'll just go grab one of those right now, and we'll take the Texans. They're at $3,200. Mariota has not been what we thought he was going to be. Like through the first 3 weeks, he has one of the worst interception rates and is only averaging 0.38 points per dropback, which is good for 25th worst in the NFL. Houston is a strong 5-point home favorite as well. So I don't think you really need to think about that a whole lot. At the defensive spot though, right above them, I think they were $3,300. Yeah, the Patriots against Tyrod. Patriots are at home too, and are a very strong home favorite as well. So you can't go to them if you're a little concerned about the JJ Watt news. I don't think it moves the needle too much. I think Houston opened up as 6.5 point favorites, and I think they're just above or are 4.5 point favorites or close to 5 point home favorites. So while it definitely wasn't positive line movement for them, it wasn't the biggest deal, and we're definitely looking for those pick sixes out of our DST. So let's go get another wide receiver. I mentioned his name just a minute ago, but Pryor, sitting at $4,300, is a little hard to ignore. I'm a full believer that last week wasn't a fluke. No way that he sees 14 targets every week like he did last week, but I don't think 10 is out of the picture. My concern is that Pryor will predominantly be covered by Norman, who grades out as PFF's or one of PFF's Pro Football Focus best corners. So like I said, that $4,300 price tag is a little hard to ignore. Pryor's got like 4 inches and I think close to 30 pounds on Norman too. So he does have a little bit of a height jump on Norman. I think if you do have your hesitations about Pryor, you can get off of him. And Jamison Crowder is right underneath him at $4,200. So he's a perfect pivot. He has a much better matchup versus Trayman Williams, who allowed almost half a fantasy point per route run. And Washington also has a killer implied team total as well. So, which is one of the reasons why I like Kirk Cousins. So if you're not on the Pryor train and Norman's kind of scaring you a little bit, Crowder's a perfect pivot play at $4,200. Let's grab a tight end here, and Zach Miller at $2,700, pretty damn close to the minimum. And it looks like Detroit is going to continue their 2015 trend of being horrible versus tight ends. They've allowed 16.2 points per game to the position through 3 weeks and are ranked 32nd worst in schedule adjusted fantasy points. Miller's playing close to 90% of his team snaps and through 3 weeks, and then he saw a very large uptick in targets. He went, I think, from 5 and 4 targets in week 1 and 2, or vice versa, and then in week 3 he saw 9 targets from Hoyer. So Miller's a super easy plug and play at tight end at $2,700. Really not looking to spend up at the tight end position in cash. It's far too volatile, and you've got Gronk and Reed, and honestly, have no interest in either one of those unless you want to go Kirk and Reed. But Greg Olsen, I think, is the only other tight end that I'm really looking to spend up on. You can have some fun with like Reed, Olsen, and tight end and flex in some tournaments, and then work in like Cam and Kirk and those in a few different game stacks. So you could definitely do that. I'm just not looking to pay up at the position this week specifically. So flex. One guy that everyone's talking about, Melvin Gordon, in the flex spot. Gordon gets the Saints at home this week, and the Chargers have the highest implied team total, pushing 29 points. The Chargers are also 4-point favorites. So GameScript sets up, I think, if the Chargers get up, there's a good chance that Wisenhunt and company decide to eat up as much clock as possible. And so Gordon could see that 25 touch mark that really makes for elite performances out of running backs. And I also think there's a good chance that he's 40% owned in a lot of those large fields of double ups, and not somebody that I don't want to have to play catch up if I don't own Gordon, and especially in head to heads as well. The Saints, they gave up an average of 25.5 points to opposing teams' running backs through the first 3 weeks. So really just not somebody I'm looking to fade. You've got $200 in sal cap left over, so not a lot of wiggle room, but obviously you guys can rework this. Like I said, if you don't like Houston, you can go to the Patriots at $3,300. You can definitely get off Cam, and you can go to Captain Kirk at $6,500, which all of a sudden we have $1,400 left over. So if you're not a fan of Hyde at $5,600, not a spot that I really like, actually. That $5,600 price point. Just below that, though, you do have Blount, who I think has seen the most touches out of any running back in the NFL, something like 75 total carries through the first 3 weeks, which, when I say that out loud, that is just absurd. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely getting the work. I think he has 100% of red zone touches, and so that's within the 20, the 10, and the 5. He's got all of the goal line work when they get up to the 3 and the 2 and the 1 yard line. So Blount at 5K is a really good play as well. And so yeah, it's kind of where I'm at for week 4 in cash. And if you guys have any questions on this, or just have been struggling with like, do I leave $600 on the table? Do I need to spend all 600? 600 is probably a little bit too much. I typically try and leave, or I'm okay leaving like, around 300-400. I think we can probably work this lineup a little bit more to make the most out of our dollars here. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, hit me up on Twitter, pop them in the comments down below. Best of luck in week 4, guys.